Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode for your show Beyond the Craft. We share with you in this show the untold stories about our stars because our stars are the people who they are working with their hands because we consider them the people that are doing something like tiny or maybe simple, and the result is a masterpiece. That's why we're gonna visiting their workshops, their studios, their houses, and even the corners because in these kind of places we call it something from the scratch, and now everything is amazing and totally different. That is the purpose of our show. And today we're gonna interview our distinguished guest Abdulaziz Shaheen, and we're gonna talk more about the dark room because dark rooms considered a long time ago for the photography, nowadays for different kind of printing. So stay tuned with us, and you will see something amazing. Be with us.
Abdulaziz Al Shaheen, a talented photographer, discovered his passion for photography at a young age, inheriting this love from his grandparents and mother, who had a deep affection for cameras and capturing moments. Their influence sparked a lifelong journey for Abdulaziz, whose dedication to the art only grew over time. Eager to refine his skills, he pursued professional courses in film development, both in Kuwait and abroad, mastering the traditional techniques that bring photography to life. In addition to his personal work, Abdulaziz has expanded his expertise to include film printing, specializing in the cyanotype process, a method that produces stunning blue-tinted prints. Committed to nurturing future talents, he now offers training courses, sharing his wealth of knowledge in photography, film development, and printing with aspiring photographers who seek to explore the beauty of analog photography.
I am a lab technician here in Studio Khamiai. I do film photography and alternative printing. On the side, I play oud as well. This is one of my other hobbies. Also, my day job is is an engineer. I graduated from the University of Glasgow as a mechanical engineer, and I'm every day discovering something new, doing something new. Always excited to learn something new. I've always been surrounded by a camera. So my father used to have a camera, and I would always like to take some photos from using that camera. As I grew up, my father got me my own camera, and I used that for a bit. And around 2015, I just wanted to shoot film, so I started. I asked my mom to get me a film camera, and she got me a film camera for a gift. I can't remember which gift was it. And I started shooting, and just kept on going. My grandfather's a photographer as well, so it runs in the family. Which we could say it runs in the family. Film photography is what's under the analog photography, or where we use photographic film to shoot using cameras, and perhaps not the cameras we know today. It's probably old cameras that would take a 35mm film or a 120 or a 127, or it could be in a large format. Film photography is where we rely on films and probably old cameras to take photos. This adds a layer of complexity. Some people might think of it as a complexity, but the film requires to be developed for the images to come out. It's something that we used to do previously. Our parents definitely did it, our grandparents as well. Now we can conveniently do it on our phone. Film photography comes in many ways and forms. The most common one would be using a 35mm film, which is the small one. It's not the smallest, but one of the most common ones we use. They come in the canister. Then we have the 120 film, which is a wider and a bigger room for resolution for an image, and we have specific cameras for that as well. So a twin lens reflex, also large format photography. We use individual sheets to take images. As such, with digital photography, so this is the common form of photography we have. We have it in our phone. We use it every day. unlike film photography is something that our parents and grandparents would have done to document their daily lives, their outings, something we don't rely on much in this day and age. For us to be taking photos in film would require us to buy the film, buy a compatible camera for that, and then you need to develop the film at somewhere which could develop this. Maybe a few years back, this wasn't an option, but now, as people are getting back into it, it's something that's available. I've been shooting since 2015 with a film camera, and I wasn't interested much in the technical aspects of it. So I was just shooting for fun. So I would shoot. I would shoot a film and then wait for the results to come back from the shop. Of course, sometimes you'll get a complete blank roll and you'll say what went wrong, and the other times you'll get beautiful images. It's the anticipation made me love this medium so much, and over the years I just kept shooting. And 2 years ago, when I came back from my studies and I was looking for something to do in Kuwait, I came across this workshop for black and white photography and developing. And then I took a workshop for film developing here at Sudi Khamiai, and this was my into this world. I was fascinated when I first developed my first film. It just made me love this art, this form, this medium. I was so connected to it because this is something I shot with my camera and I'm developing, so I would see the images that I created with my hands, something that made me so much closer to my medium. And I think that's where I found my passion, and I just wanted, and it was full steam ahead ever since. The darkroom is a room where you print photographic images using traditional methods, using an enlarger. And when we use the term dark, this refers to the need of reduced lighting to produce such images. Typically, we would have a safe light or a red light. Sometimes, so we typically have a red light or a safe light for us to work with the photographic paper, for us to see the images before it gets projected into the paper in complete darkness. Because film is photosensitive, and if it gets exposed to light, we will lose the paper or we will lose the film. The film is photosensitive, so if light exposes through the film or goes through the film, it's going to expose the film, and there's no use for an exposed film. Khalas, it's done. And the same goes with photographic paper, the ones we use in the darkroom to print. That's why we use the safe light. Safe light prevents the exposure of the paper or the burning of the paper. Sometimes we use this term, burn. Dark rooms in Kuwait were part of our curriculars in the university and other schools as well, from the 80s and 90s. Over time, there was less interest in this matter. Also, with digital photography being so popular and the new thing, people wanted the convenience and the ease. So that disappeared. Over time, or recently, we found there's a surge in film photography. People want to shoot film more. People are more passionate about film photography and being perhaps maybe developing their films and being more technical with their work. And now we have darkrooms in Kuwait populating around. I was inspired in one of my darkroom visits where I saw Huda Abdel Mughni. She was working with cyanotype, which is a form of alternative printing. When I saw her printing a zine, I asked her what was that. So she was telling me and explaining how this was the cyanotype print. And around that time I was going to Egypt, so she recommended me to go to one of the darkrooms there and take a course with Mohammed Abdel Wahab. When I went there, and I also took that course, and I learned for a few months there the techniques. I love the technicality of this world. I loved film photography more. I loved printing. I loved alternative printing, and from then I was inspired, and my passion keeps increasing every day. I notice a lot of things in my daily life, out in the street. I notice movements. I look up a lot. I look at chairs as well. I'm always inspired by ephemeral objects or objects that doesn't mean anything to many people. Sometimes a chair would be that in the street, but I like to look deeper into that sometimes. And being one of my blogs that I do, I actually shoot chairs around Kuwait, and it makes me always inspired to look for more chairs and more stories out there. I look for the stories in people sometimes. My photography is all over the place. I don't have a specific style. I don't have a specific thing that I like to shoot. Whatever I see on the streets that attracts me or grabs my attention, I would like to shoot. I would love to shoot. And that's why I carry my camera with me most of the times. Whenever I feel inspired, or something that will inspire me, or something inspires me at the moment, I would like to shoot it. Usually I'd like to shoot both mediums, but I have my phone always with me to shoot my daily activities. If I need something that would be for a reference for me, I would take it. I would use my phone, of course. Also, I prefer using my phone sometimes in situations. I also recommend people that are getting into photography to love shooting with their phones. If they don't like shooting with their phones, I don't think they would like shooting with a camera, because you could do everything on your phone. You could compose, you could learn how to shoot, you could control light as well. It's a complete device, and so we need to use it. We need to learn from it initially. Then once you're happy with what you do, you could move on to the next step and be experimental. I love to capture the rawness of a scene as it is. No manipulation, no nothing. The way I see it, the way I view this object or the subject, I would love to take it the way it is. For manipulation or any light changes or switching the mood, it really depends on the final outcome that I'm looking for. Typically, I would go for complete rawness of the situation as it is.
The development of photographic film started in the mid-19th century with the creation of collodion wet plates in 1851 by Frederick Scott Archer. These glass plates needed to be developed immediately after exposure, making the process cumbersome. This led to the invention of dry plates in 1871 by Richard Maddox, which could be stored for later development, making photography more convenient. However, the most significant breakthrough came with George Eastman's invention of roll film in the 1880s. Roll film allowed for multiple exposures on a single strip of flexible material and enabled the mass production of cameras. Throughout the 20th century, the process of film development remained largely the same. A typical black and white film development process involves three key steps: developing, stopping, and fixing. The developer solution interacts with the film's silver halide crystals, turning them into metallic silver where they were exposed to light. The stop bath halts the developer's action, while the fixer stabilizes the image and removes any remaining light-sensitive material, allowing the film to be safely exposed to light. Color film development is more complex, involving additional layers of chemical reactions to produce colored dyes corresponding to red, green, and blue light. One of the most commonly used processes for color film is the C41 process, introduced in 1972, which standardized color development across the world. Today, despite the dominance of digital photography, film development remains popular among enthusiasts who value the tangible, hands-on process of creating images. The resurgence of alternative methods, like cyanotypes, has brought attention back to historical processes. Cyanotype is an early photographic printing process that produces distinctive blue-toned images created by coating paper with iron salts and exposing it to UV light. This analog approach, along with traditional film development, continues to attract a new generation of photographers interested in the artistry and craftsmanship of the darkroom.
So cyanotype is one of the oldest photographic printing techniques. It was invented, or it was used back in the 1800s, and over time people used it to make blueprints, and that's where the terminology of blueprint in architectural drawings comes from. With the invention of Xerox and printing machines, people use it less for that purpose. With COVID and people being stuck at home, cyanotype made a comeback in an artistic way. People got creative. They made prints using imagery and plants as well. One of the earliest methods of capturing an image of, let's say, an image of the plant was through cyanotype by Anna Atkins, which was considered the first female photographer, and she was a botanist, and she used this technique or this method of printing to document English botanicals or British botanicals. So cyanotype process, we start with two chemicals where we mix them together to produce a photosensitive solution. Using a brush, I would apply the solution to a paper, and then we will let the paper dry. After drying, we'd expose it using the sun, or if the sun is available, or we'd use a UV light box, which is something we could use all day. After that, we'd wash the print with water, and we'll get a print. Exposure time depends on the source of UV light we're using. If we're going with the sun, the UV index changes throughout the day. We could, at peak times, we'll have a very strong sun with a UV index of 12, and exposure time would be around 2 minutes. Other days will be around 6, and the exposure time would go up to 3-4 minutes. Some days we get clouds, which increases the time as well. So it really depends on the conditions of the weather and the sun. If we're using a light box, then we'll have standard timings based on the image we have. So we will make a test print, for example, and determine the right exposure. And this will be the exposure consistently. And we won't have to test for it because it's the same output every time. The difference between black and white and the color developing would be mainly in the chemicals used and the method of developing. So in black and white, it's a much more forgiving method. Temperatures won't affect it as much as in color development, because we need to be at a specific temperature for color to come out. In printing, in color darkroom printing, you would need complete darkness, total darkness. You won't see the image until it comes out in its final form. That's where you would decide, if you need to change some things for the next print. It's not as forgiving as black and white. Many mistakes can occur during developing stages and during the printing stages. The big one we always fear is light. Any source of light would burn the image or expose the image, expose the film, expose the paper. So we need to be very cautious of light around us. Other issues would be regarding the chemicals we're using and the shelf life and the usage of the chemicals. So if the chemical is expired or exhausted, we would return some foggy negatives or foggy paper. This is something we need to test before every time we develop. We need to check that our chemicals are ready to go to avoid such mistakes. Of course, in my test trials, I did forget to check one of the color chemicals, and I went through two or three films before checking that I had to check the chemicals. After checking, I found out that the chemicals were exhausted beyond the point of their shelf life. The images are gone, so we need to check our chemicals. Expired film, people would test, and sometimes it would cause, let's say, some of the developing shops a lot of problems, because it's an old film, or they don't want to use their chemicals with it because it causes them problems. Even old films, I have tried older films, and it has a different method of developing. So we do something that's called stand developing. My first experience in the darkroom was pretty stressful. From the very first moment of retrieving the film from the film canister, messing up is something I always fear. Every step in the process, I would fear, and that was the first time. And when the results came out from my first time at the darkroom, I was so happy. It was something out of this world. I couldn't believe my hands got those images out. So I just kept on coming back to the darkroom, shooting more, wanting to develop my own film. Always in film photography and printing. So in developing, we need complete darkness. The film needs to be in a canister, and we'll start with the developer. So the developer brings out the image, and then we'd go to a stop bath, which is usually the step to stop the developing phase. It's something to neutralize the last process. And the third part would be a fixer, and the fixer stabilizes the image and stops the whole process. And the final step would be a water wash. In darkroom printing, after exposing the photographic paper, they will go through a similar process under safe light: developer, stop bath, and fixer. Timings will vary depending on the strength of the chemicals we're using and depending on the film stock we're using. Working in the darkroom is a magical experience, honestly. You'll go into the darkroom and forget yourself in there for a few hours, looking at the work you're doing, being very close with your work, seeing your images, the images you took, the moments in your history, the places you've been to, the things you've seen, all coming out in such a beautiful way. I think this is the reward in itself, being in the darkroom. It's not what the outcome is. The journey or being there in the darkroom, the whole process is the most rewarding thing about the process. Being in the darkroom is a totally different experience. It's something everyone should experience at least once in their lives. Seeing an image coming out to life, it's such a beautiful thing. Working in the darkroom or in the studio in general influenced my use of digital aspects, of course, especially in the cyanotype process or in the alternative photography realm, where for convenience I would love to print something that I couldn't do from my photography. I would refer to my phone, take images with my phone and print them into digital negatives so I could print them on paper or on other mediums. There's no shame in that. Sometimes people think you need to be some sort of a purist to this type of media. I think otherwise, we have the convenience of the phone. We have it there for us to help us in creating or making our media much more beautiful. So this is where I would definitely use digital photography and have it assisting me as a way of assistance in creating cyanotype prints. For beginners in photography in general, love your phone, guys. Please, you need to love shooting with your phone. It's a tool we have in our pockets every day. Learn how to do that, and then love it. Compose images. Be part of it. Just don't jump into something that you don't know about. Once you get to that point, then yes, take it to the next level. Whereas for darkroom printing, don't stop. Once you get into it, if you loved it, if you liked it, just don't stop. Continuity is key in the darkroom. Practicing is key in the darkroom. Making mistakes in the darkroom is key as well. So just being there and learning from your mistakes, making new prints, learning new things, experiencing it firsthand is something I would highly suggest to anyone that's interested in darkroom printing.
The purpose of our show to showcase more about our Kuwaiti talents, about the people who's living in beloved country state of Kuwait. We're going to their places, we're holding our cameras and to showcasing about their talents, what they are using with their only hands, simple tools, which is your hand, and the result is a masterpiece, because all the thing about the keynote, about the main topic about our show is how they are people, they are doing their best, sacrificing their time, sacrificing too many things to share with us about how they are doing, following their passion, and now they are stars for their profession because they are well known for their handmade and craftsmanship. I hope you enjoyed our episode for today when we interviewed with you our distinguished guest Abdulaziz Shaheen, when he already sharing with us about the dark room and we were being in their place, and he already sharing with us about the techniques, the story, and even more. And now we reached our episode for today. Hope you enjoyed our segment. See you next time and have a good day.